Have you ever left a conversation feeling completely drained emotionally, physically, maybe even spiritually, like you just endured something, and now you're stuck replaying it in your head, wondering why you keep putting up with it? If you've ever felt exhausted, undervalued, or outright disrespected after spending time with someone, it's time to ask yourself, is this relationship even worth it? Think of your life as a garden. You nurture it, water it, and pour your heart into making it flourish. But then a weed creeps in, slowly spreading and stealing the nutrients meant for your flowers. Ever feel like you're living that metaphor? Someone who constantly takes but never gives back. Don't let your life become a barren field because you're holding on to the wrong people in this video. We're cutting to the chase. 7 unmistakable signs. It's time to say goodbye. It might hurt, but your peace is worth so much more. Ready to reclaim your energy and happiness? Let's dive in. Sign 1. You're guilt-tripped for setting boundaries. Guilt-tripped for setting boundaries. Have you ever tried to set a boundary to protect yourself only to end up feeling like the villain? It's all too common, especially with people who prioritize their own needs over your comfort and autonomy. Imagine telling a family member that you can't attend a weekend gathering because you need some rest after a hectic work week. Instead of understanding, they say, "I guess this family doesn't matter to you anymore." That one sentence instantly makes you feel guilty, as if prioritizing self-care is somehow selfish. The issue here is that people like this don't truly respect your boundaries. They shift the focus from your legitimate need for self-care to their own feelings of being neglected or ignored. This isn't just emotional manipulation. It's a clear sign that they value their desires more than your peace. And mental health Stoic philosophy reminds us, no one can harm you without your consent. Feeling guilty for protecting yourself is not your responsibility. It's a reflection of their inability to respect the relationship. I've been there. A former friend constantly asked for help with small tasks, from moving furniture to fixing her computer one day after a particularly exhausting week. I told her I needed a day to rest and couldn't help this time. Her response, a dramatic, "I guess I'm not important enough for you to make time for me." It stung and I almost caved. But after reflecting, I realized I couldn't keep sacrificing my mental health just to avoid disappointing someone else. Stoic philosophy teaches us a powerful lesson. Your value should not be defined by someone else's approval or comfort setting. Boundaries isn't selfish. It's an act of self-respect and love. When you give in guilt, you not only lose your boundaries, but you also allow others to continue controlling you. The solution isn't to become cold or cut everyone off. Instead, communicate clearly and calmly. Explain that taking care of yourself doesn't mean you care less about them. It's how you ensure you can continue supporting them in a healthy way. If they still try to guilt you, that's a red flag that they don't truly respect you as much as you hoped. Setting boundaries is never easy, but it's essential for protecting your peace and building healthy relationships. The people who genuinely care about you will understand and respect your limits, and those who don't, it might be time to reconsider that connection. Stoic philosophy not only helps you confront guilt, but also encourages you to focus on what you can control, your own inner peace. 2. They block your personal growth. Block your personal growth. Have you ever felt like you're trying to climb a mountain, but someone in your life keeps pulling you down? Maybe you've noticed that every time you try something new, they respond with sarcasm, or worse, dismiss your efforts entirely. Dr. Lindsay Gibson explains that personal growth often makes us unable to tolerate things we once didn't even notice. As you learn to love and respect yourself more, those who hinder your progress become increasingly obvious. I once had a close friend who was always there for me during tough times. But when I decided to change careers to follow my passion, her reaction surprised me. Instead of offering support, She told me I was being unrealistic and should stick to reality. Her words didn't just make me doubt my decision, they made me hesitate at the time. I didn't realize she wasn't just unsupportive. She was unknowingly blocking my personal growth. Stoic philosophy offers an important perspective in situations like this. Marcus Aurelius taught, "What doesn't help you grow isn't worth keeping as you grow. People who truly care about you won't reopen old wounds or drag you back to unhealthy habits you've outgrown. They'll encourage you to move forward and support your journey, even if they don't fully understand your path." If you notice someone constantly dismissing your ideas, undermining your confidence, or making you feel guilty for pursuing new opportunities, that's a clear warning sign. These kinds of criticisms aren't realistic. They're reflections of their own insecurities. They fear your success might highlight the limitation they've imposed on themselves. The question is, how do you handle it? The answer isn't conflict, but self-awareness. Recognize their behavior as a reflection of them. Not you focus on what you can control: your actions, your choices, and your inner strength. Surround yourself with people who support you, those who not only understand, but also celebrate your growth. 3-3. Everything is always your fault. Everything is always your fault. Have you ever felt like every problem in a relationship somehow ends up being your fault? No matter what, every argument leaves you feeling like you're to blame, even when it's obvious you're not. This doesn't just exhaust you. It erodes your self-esteem and makes you question yourself. According to therapist Sharon Martin, people who constantly blame others lack self-awareness and rarely change. They expect you to take responsibility for everything while refusing to confront their own mistakes. I once had a colleague who seemed friendly. At first, she was cheerful and supportive in the beginning, but over time a pattern began to emerge. Whenever something went wrong with a project, she had a knack for subtly shifting the blame onto me, from minor errors like printing mistakes to delays completely unrelated to my work. I always seemed to end up in the hot seat once a report was late, because she didn't submit her part on time. Yet I was criticized for not reminding her earlier. At first I doubted myself, wondering if I really was at fault. But as time went on, I realized this was her way of avoiding responsibility by making someone else carry the burden. Stoic philosophy offers a clear perspective on situations like this. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Don't waste your energy on things beyond your control." You can't change how others behave, but you can control how you respond. When dealing with people who always shift the blame, it's crucial to recognize that the problem lies with them, not you. Their inability to admit fault doesn't just hinder their personal growth. It also destroys trust in the relationship. In a healthy relationship, whether it's with family, friends, or colleagues, both sides should feel safe expressing their thoughts and admitting when they're wrong without fear of constant blame. If you're repeatedly carrying the weight of every problem, ask yourself, is this fair to you? The answer is almost always no. Protect your mental well-being by setting boundaries. And if any necessary, consider stepping away from the relationship. Stoic philosophy teaches that your inner peace is more important than trying to please others. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth. You're not the bad guy just because you refuse to play that role in their life. Your self-respect and peace of mind are worth so much more. 4. The bad outweighs the good. Bad outweighs the good. Have you ever held on to a relationship simply because of a few beautiful moments? Even though most of the time was filled with tension and negativity, you tell yourself that those brief moments of happiness are enough to outweigh the pain. But deep down, you know that's not true. According to psychologist Dr. Lindsay Gibson, clinging to the hope of better times might offer temporary comfort. But what's truly needed is an honest evaluation of how the relationship impacts your emotional music well-being. I once had a close friend whom I deeply cherished. She had an incredible sense of humor, and every time we laughed together, it felt like all my troubles disappeared. But those moments became fewer and farther between. Instead, she frequently criticized me, made me feel inadequate, and ignored my emotions when I needed her the most. I kept justifying it to myself, thinking, she's not always like this, or it's just a rough patch. But those rough patches lasted so long that I found myself drained of energy and self-confidence. Stoic philosophy offers a powerful lesson in situations like this. Accept reality instead of trying to change it. Marcus Aurelius said, "See things for what they are not, what you wish them to be." When someone instantly exhibits toxic behavior without remorse or improvement, it's a sign that you need to reevaluate the relationship, accepting what they can't or won't change. And the harm it causes isn't weakness, it's a courageous act to protect yourself. The solution isn't about denying the good moments you've shared, but putting them into the broader context. Ask yourself, are those moments of joy worth the pain and stress you endure? If the answer is no, it may be time to free yourself from the relationship. Stoic philosophy reminds us that inner peace is more important than temporary comfort. Have the courage to accept that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to let go of what no longer serves you. The freedom and peace you gain will be worth every bit of pain it takes to walk 5. They don't keep in contact. Away. 5. They don't keep in contact. Have you ever had a friend or family member who only shows up when they need something from you? They disappear for long stretches, never checking in or reaching out, and then suddenly reappear with a favor to ask. Relationships like these don't just leave you feeling used. They leave you feeling empty, like you're only their last resort when they have no one else to turn to. I once had a college friend I thought I'd stay close to after graduation. At first, she called often, sharing everything about her life. But as time passed, the conversations became less frequent, eventually turning into sporadic messages, always asking for a favor. One day, after nearly a year of silence, she called asking me to write a presentation for her because you're so good at writing. There were no questions about my life or why we hadn't talked in so long. Every interaction carried a request, but there was no genuine care or connection on her part. Over time, I realized she didn't value our relationship. She valued what I could do for her. Stoic philosophy teaches us nothing is more precious than the peace of your soul. People who only appear when they need something don't add real value to your life. They don't nurture the relationship, and instead of building trust, they chip away at your sense of self-worth. Marcus Aurelius encouraged us to see things as they are, not as we wish they were. A relationship where you constantly hope maybe this time it will be different rarely changes, because this behavior has become a pattern for them. The question is, should you continue these relationships? The answer lies in assessing their impact on your mental well-being. If every time they reach out you feel used or disrespected, it's time to set boundaries, not out of revenge, but to protect yourself. Remember, you deserve relationships built on sincerity, people who care about you, not because they need something, but because they genuinely value you. Stoic philosophy encourages us to let go of what doesn't serve our peace. Have the courage to cut ties with relationships that drain you, and you'll create space for connections that truly matter. 6. They're an energy. 6. They're an energy vampire. Vampire, have you ever felt completely drained after spending time with someone? Every conversation feels like a burden because they're constantly complaining, gossiping, or stirring up unnecessary drama. These people are like emotional vacuum cleaners, leaving you feeling worse than you did before. They don't just consume your time, they drain your mental health, pulling you into their vortex of negativity. I once had a coworker who always sought me out to vent about everything at work. At first I sympathized and tried to help her find solutions, but over time I realized she wasn't interested in fixing anything. She just wanted an audience for her endless complaints. She would regularly criticize other colleagues, undermine their achievements, and play the victim card to garner sympathy. One time when I told her I couldn't listen because I had an urgent meeting, she immediately accused me of not caring. That's when I realized maintaining this relationship wasn't just a waste of my time. It was also affecting my ability to think positively. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." This wisdom doesn't just apply to you. It also applies to the people you surround yourself with. Stoic philosophy reminds us that if someone constantly drags you into negativity without adding any value, it's time to question whether that relationship is worth keeping. You can't control someone else's behavior, but you can choose who gets to stay in your circle. The solution isn't to become cold or avoid everything. Everyone it's about. Being more selective, psychologist Dr. Anit Nunez encourages us to surround ourselves with positive, supportive relationships that lift us up and inspire growth. If someone only leaves you feeling exhausted and depleted, it's time to set boundaries or even walk away from that relationship. Stoic philosophy teaches us that protecting your inner peace should always be a top priority. Have the courage to let go of the energy vampires in your life and create space for truly positive and meaningful connections. You deserve a life full of energy, joy, and relationships that genuinely nourish your spirit. 7. All roads lead to nowhere. 7. All roads lead to nowhere. Have you ever felt like you're trying everything to fix a relationship, but no matter what you do, it leads nowhere? Every conversation, every effort to repair things ends up at the same dead end. You tell yourself to be more patient, to give them more time, but eventually you realize they're not even taking a single step toward meeting you halfway. It's not just exhausting, it slowly erodes your sense of self-worth. I once had a close friend I worked tirelessly to maintain a relationship with. She would always promise to change after every major argument. One time, after a heated fight, she broke down in tears and swore that things would be different. I believed her, forgave her, and gave her another chance, but weeks later she reverted to her old behavior, ignoring my feelings, making comments that made me feel small, and even claiming I was too sensitive. Over time, I realized her promises weren't genuine. They weren't about wanting to change, but about keeping me around, ensuring I would continue to tolerate and sacrifice for her. Stoic philosophy reminds us your time is limited. Use it wisely, as Marcus Aurelius taught. We can't control others' actions, but we can control how we respond. Sometimes choosing to walk away isn't giving up, it's showing respect for yourself. If you find that every road in this relationship leads to the same dead end, it's a clear sign. It's time to reconsider. Psychologist Dr. Carla Schumann encourages us to prioritize relationships that are positive and enriching, with people who genuinely add value to our lives. Imagine your life if you stopped pouring your energy into relationships that don't move forward instead of trying to fix what won't change. Invest in people who bring joy, support, and motivation for growth. Stoic philosophy teaches us to accept reality rather than fight it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to walk away from unhealthy relationships. Let these brave decisions create space for more positive and meaningful connections. You'll find that when you choose to prioritize your happiness, the world around you begins to change for the better. Remember, prioritizing your peace and happiness isn't selfish. It's a courageous act of self-love. If this video has helped you recognize someone in your life who's been draining your energy or causing harm, take it as a reminder that you deserve healthier, more uplifting relationships. I'd love to hear your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. Is there someone in your life who's making you consider cutting ties? Share your story, and let's support each other in finding clarity and understanding. If you found this content valuable, please like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll be bringing you more insightful content, like how to stop seeking external validation or recognizing the signs you might be loving someone too much who hasn't healed yet. Thank you for watching, and keep moving forward on your journey to peace and happiness. You truly deserve it. See you in the next video.